Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in today's podcast, we're going to be reviewing the two big matches which took place over the weekend. Man City running away winners over Newcastle. And of course, the big one on Sunday, Manchester United holding on for a draw versus the mighty Spurs. Now, joining me this evening to review these two matches and to talk some football in general, we have Christophe returning to the podcast.
Good to be back again, viewers.
Yes, indeed, Christophe, some really good football taking place over the weekend, some succulent goals and, the state of the league, teams moving up, some teams moving down. But let's kick things off. Let's jump straight into that mouth-watering clash, which took place over there at St. James's Park. You could dub this one the return of Kevin De Bruyne. Christophe, how did you see that game?
I thought that was a very, very close game in the first half. You can't judge these matches based on the fact that Man City dominates possession because that will most certainly happen in most cases. I think maybe, and we can't say no because Man City win, but I do believe had they not had Kevin De Bruyne back, I think Newcastle would have gotten away with a win in that game, right?
A win,
Man,
not even a
yeah,
draw.
not even a draw. I think Man City would have not Man City, Newcastle would have gone away with that win because Kevin De Bruyne came on and scored one assist one. So
Right,
no
right.
KDB, those don't count, right? Right? That's what I
Possibly. I
believe.
mean,
I
other
think Newcastle
it's
had the beating of them. Newcastle
yeah,
had the beating of them.
it
Had
was a
them take
tight
it.
game. Definitely, some quality goals being scored in that one as well. It was five goals being shared among two teams, and all five goals were really quality strikes. I must say, even that first goal there from Bernardo Silva, very cheeky.
Yeah, excellent goals. Um, I don't know if I think a goal is a goal, but I don't know if I feel like the Kevin De Bruyne goal was a quality goal. I just thought maybe the goalkeeper, poor goalkeeping. I think
No,
on that
man.
one.
I mean, that was a calculated shot, Christoph. When you look at the replay, you saw that he deliberately placed that shot between the defender's leg, and in by doing so, it seemed to have blindsided the keeper, who probably
Mm.
reacted late, and that one was tucked away in the back of the net. I mean, a real superb strike there from
I, I
De Bruyne
I
coming
don't
back
be,
from injury.
I don't believe I saw that. I don't see that. I don't think that was deliberate. I think that just happened. That was not deliberate to me. That's not what I saw. All
But
right.
what about that
But
third goal, that winning goal from the young Bob?
no, I mean, you can't do anything about that. Like I said, Kevin De Bruyne with the assist. What can you do? If
Yeah,
there
I
was
mean,
no
to me, that was
KDB,
poor defending from Trippier, to be honest, Christoph. When you look at the replay, I mean, Trippier was
yeah, but
stretching, reaching. I mean, could have done better. Maybe fatigue kicked in.
ex Tottenham man is what you expect. We expect this from former Tottenham players.
Yeah,
It was,
definitely.
but
I mean, in
you
the
can't
last
take.
three matches, Trippier has been making some individual errors, going all the way back to that game versus Everton. And subsequently, he has made individual errors leading to goals versus Spurs. And now we see Man City taking advantage of that defensive fragility. I'm not sure. It seems as if teams may very well be targeting him now. I mean, with all these defensive errors coming into play.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they've Newcastle are ending up in a similar situation to Arsenal. When you look at Arsenal last 4 or 5 games, you notice that teams are now targeting Zinchenko, which is kind of same. Which in the last game you kind of saw where Zinchenko was dropped. I heard them say it might have been an injury, but to me, I thought he was just dropped the last couple of games because Arteta saw that he was being targeted. You know, I think you get some reinforcements in the January window. Not seeing that, but even though Trippier was maybe at fault for that goal, you can't take away from the pass. It was a brilliant pass to find Bob out wide, and then there was still a lot of work to be done. It's not like it was on a platter.
Yeah, definitely quite a visionary pass there and execution as well from Kevin De Bruyne. And of course, Bob with his first touch took it inside and really tucked it away like an expert striker. So, I mean, Man City coming from behind, and this result would have sent shockwaves down the spine of the rest of the league, you know. Man City seem to now be on a roll, and they seem to be galvanizing and really putting their eggs in that EPL basket, really going for the title. I mean, Liverpool definitely has to be looking out. I mean, the lead at the top of the table is now down to two, Christophe. From here on in, how do you think that Liverpool Man City matchup will fare going forward?
Um, my honest opinion is with Kevin De Bruyne back, as long as he is fit, I think Man City has the league now. Man City, around this time, we usually see them switching gears, switching into a higher gear for the rest of the season. And with Kevin De Bruyne back, not missing a beat, scoring a goal, getting an assist, it's as Arsene Wenger used to say, it's like a new signing.
Right, right. Yeah, and I mean, definitely Man City is still the bookie's favorite in all honesty to really lift that EPL title. But let's hope Liverpool can give them a stern test. If not, pit them to the title. We can only hope. And of course, there is Haaland to return also, Christoph. So that will only add further depth and further firepower up front for this Man City team.
Definitely Haaland you will see an impact from Haaland, given that he has KDB back behind him. But I think what we've seen from Haaland this season is that Haaland does struggle to get goals against the bigger teams. We saw it against Arsenal, we saw it against Liverpool. So I don't know if it's a confidence thing or maybe it was just that he's missing Kevin De Bruyne. But as I said at the beginning of this season, I said to you that Haaland is not the danger man from Man City, it's Kevin De Bruyne. And now he's back fully fit and he's showing that he's ready to go.
Yes, definitely. I must concur with your assessment there, you know. It's like a new signing. But Christoph, let's turn our attention to Newcastle. What of the Newcastle team? Where do we see this Newcastle team really finishing? I mean, they are now out of the Champions League and they are pretty much battered in terms of injuries. Can they re-galvanize after this January break and really put their best foot forward, or will we continue to see a stop-start sort of season where they are now what 10th in the league?
Yeah. Um I mean, they started out well. They've been playing well. The coach clearly has a vision of what he wants to do, and they're getting it done. They are one of those newly rich clubs, so to speak. So, depending on injuries that they're having, and if the coach thinks they can do it out, you might see them dipping into the January window, and then we could see them build up back some momentum from some potential new signings. Not sure if they'll be doing any yet, but that could be key to kind of getting them back up and reviving the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. We have to keep a close eye on the transfer window. And of course, a number of players also, Christoph, may be coming back from injury. So that in itself also will aid in galvanizing this team. I mean, Eddie Howe still has a good core of players at his disposal, and they really did give Man City a run for their money. But, you know, as we had predicted in the preview, myself and Sir Cole, that Man City somehow will be too much for this Newcastle team, and so said, so done. You know, this was a very good game, I must say. You know, it was really a very good tactical matchup in terms of Newcastle really holding Man City at bay, Man City dominating possession, but then Newcastle always had that threat on the break, and we saw two superb goals from Isak and also from Garden, a player which has really been growing in stature and have really nailed down that position, that wide position in that Newcastle team, making it his own, so to speak. So, good things from Newcastle, but again, coming up short. And this has happened to them a number of times throughout the course of the season where they played well, but still end up losing the game. And confidence must be waning in this Newcastle team at this moment, Christoph.
I'm not so sure. Again, again, it is Kevin De Bruyne, right? Had there been no Kevin De Bruyne, I think Newcastle would have won because we know Eddie Howe does have the beating of Pep Guardiola. We've seen him do it with Bournemouth on a number of occasions, right? So I think it's just Kevin De Bruyne was the difference for them on the day. That is it. I
You,
don't
you,
know that there. I don't believe confidence is waning as yet. I mean, if you're Newcastle, you're not necessarily expecting to beat all of these top four teams. You know, you're going to take a loss and a draw here and there. I don't think the players would have lost any confidence. But has that been the case? It's up to the manager to galvanize his team and get back at it.
yes, I mean, but from here on in, though, Christoph, where do you see Newcastle finishing at this point in time, based on how
Uh,
their season has unraveled thus far?
I don't expect them to be making top four this season. I do expect potentially the teams that are currently top four, Liverpool, City, Aston Villa, Arsenal, are likely to maintain those top four positions with potential for Tottenham to sneak in. I think that will be the top four. I think Newcastle will climb back up somewhere to maybe sixth or seventh for the
So
end of the
pretty
season.
much a top half finish there for Newcastle. You're predicting. Personally, I think Newcastle will hang around ninth or 10th, to be honest. I really don't see them making any drastic improvement. This is a tried and tested 11, not much rotation. Pretty much you can pick this 11, whether it be through injuries or lack of other personnel to choose from. But this is a team which have been worked and worked really hard, just by the way the Newcastle team press. And I really, it seems as if they've somewhat run out of steam to a large extent, where fatigue may have crept in just due to the fact that they're dealing with so many injuries and quality bodies are really limited. So as a coach, you're really just forced to be picking the same 11 week in, week out. But I can see them finishing around 9, 10.
I'm not sure when Tonali suspension would be up. Not sure off the top of my
Yeah,
head no, but
it must be
I
next season. This
I,
it must be
I
the start of the next season, Christoph. I mean,
it,
Ivan Toney, we see his ban is up and what he got, what, 6 months? And I think Tonali may have gotten a lengthier sentence, so
really
or a lengthier suspension. So I'm thinking Tonali will be back possibly next season. Now I don't think we're gonna be seeing him for the remainder of the season. So whatever bodies
mm,
Newcastle have at their disposal,
10
that's
month
what they have to
suspension.
use going forward. So it is what it is, but it's part of life in the EPL. You have to deal with injuries, being out of form, games coming thick and fast. It's all parts and parcels of being in the top flight, being in one of the most competitive leagues in the world. And I guess this is just a situation which is catching up somewhat with Newcastle. But Christoph, we move, and the next big game we turn our attention to took place on Sunday. Manchester United, Christoph, playing at home and holding Tottenham to a draw, I would say. How did you see this one, Christoph? This one ending 2-2.
Um, it was a somewhat interesting game. It's one of those things that we talk about. Manchester United is up and down all season. Not well, even since last season, Manchester United has been up and down, but all season definitely it has been evident this season. But we do see where they do tend to play better when they are up against quality opposition, whether that be for bragging rights or they just galvanize on these games because they do
I
tend to
think
play
it's a
well.
case where these games suit the Man United way of playing, Christoph, where the bigger teams are going to dominate possession,
And they
which
can
forces
attack on the
Manchester
counter.
United to play on the counter. Yeah,
That could
I
be
think it's just
because
that's the case.
that is probably because both goals for Manchester United came from two counter attacks. I think Tottenham was too soft to allow those goals to go in. I don't think they should have scored. Not to take away from the goals, there were still quality, there was still work to be done. But I don't think those should be scored, given that we know Manchester United can only score on the counter attack. Tottenham should have come with a plan to neutralize that counter, whether it be that you're going to leave some defenders back to neutralize the counter, or you're just going to, maybe make some tactical fouls and kill the counter attack. But I think this was maybe, I mean, I read Pastapagli, you read Pastapagli, but I thought this was a poor game plan to try and neutralize the Man United attack because they can only counter.
It's a criticism of Ange, I would say, Christoph, where he tends to play a particular way. And I would say it was the same thing when Aston Villa visited Old Trafford as well. Aston Villa went 2 goals up in that one. But rather than now dropping that high line, they still maintain that high line, pushing up, and then Manchester United caught them on the counter and ended up winning that game, I believe, after being 2 goals down. And I think this is what the same thing with Ange to some extent, where rather than tweaking his tactics somewhat, it was the same Tottenham, which in and of itself is somewhat commendable in that a number of their key players are out or away on, national duties, but the team still managed to play and display his philosophy. The patterns of play were still there, and they really managed to create some real issues for this Manchester United team. They were the team really taking the game to United, and to the fact that they were playing away from home as well at Old Trafford is really commendable. And that is one of the criticisms I've had of this Ten Hag team, Christoph. I am yet to see the Ten Hag way.
What is the
I
Ten Hag
can't
way?
see the patterns of play which Ten Hag is bringing to the fore. And that's the main criticism I have of him.
What is the Ten Hag way?
That is the question everyone is asking. What is the Ten Hag way? We are yet to see it at Old Trafford. I mean, a number of other coaches have come in the league and they have stamped their philosophy and their way of playing on their respective team. And Ange is a classic example of that.
I mean, yeah, it's commendable for Ange to have kind of gotten this Tottenham team playing how he's wanted, and they're playing very good football. I think it's just with this Manchester United game. Like I said to you before, that even with the Aston Villa game, I thought it was a case where both managers were maybe overconfident in thinking that they were better than Manchester United. Right? And as such, they did not change they didn't adjust their style of play in order to counter them. I think that's the case because we've seen where Tottenham has adjusted how they've played to play against Chelsea, Arsenal, and Man City, but we didn't see it against Man U because they were a bit overconfident in that, it's Man U. They're not playing well. We can go there and beat them. But also, we expect we're kind of expecting the bigger teams to go to Man U, whether it be home or away, and dominate because Man U is not going to break you down and score any goals. They're going to absorb the pressure and try and hit you on the counter attack.
I
So
think that early goal, though, from United, Christoph, I think that may have thrown the spanner into the works, where it Spurs now had to really come and take the game to them now playing from behind. I think if the game was still level at 0-0 early on, then I think the approach would have been a bit more cautious,
conservative.
a bit more conservative, exactly. But the fact that they went down so early, it means they now had to really take on even a more attacking sort of mindset in order to get back into the game. And, they did manage to get back into the game, but again, Manchester United went ahead, and again, Tottenham
Was
found
playing
that
catch
equalizer,
up twice.
was playing
Yeah.
catch up twice. And I think that pretty much dictated the pattern of the game. But again, the threat from United, not many chances being created, it was really down to Spurs to really break this team down. And they did manage to carve out a number of chances, but could not find the winner in the end. So, the points have to be shared. But I thought Tottenham would have left this game probably the more disappointed of the two, but would have taken more confidence from the game as well, knowing that they had the opportunity to really beat this Manchester team. And then imagine, Christoph, if all the Spurs players were fit. I mean, this team is still missing Madison, and we know Son is now away on national duty at the Asian Cup. So, you know, it's scary to think of the potential of the Spurs team, Christoph.
Oh,
Are they, the,
definitely.
the question is, are they punching above their weight, or is this the true Spurs we're seeing currently?
No, I don't think they're punching above their weight. I think they are actually showing their quality. I think for them, it was that signing of James Madison that has taken them to the next level now. Had
And also the
both
coach.
and the
I
coach
think
and
the
the
coach
coach.
was even the more important signing.
But the coach made the signing of Madison. I thought it was a very good signing. Madison has been excellent for Leicester for so many years. I am very surprised that none of the other big teams did not go in to buy him sooner. Very surprised because he's been excellent for years. Um, but had Tottenham had Madison and Son, I do not think Man U would have had a chance to even draw the game or anything like that because we know Son is a much better finisher up front, and would probably draw defenders more because people see him more of a threat. Nobody's really afraid of Richarlison.
Yeah, and I mean, we also saw Werner making his debut. Also, Christoph, what did you make of Werner's performance, Christoph? Most person would see him as a failure in his time at Chelsea, but what did you see from him in this game?
Uh,
Well, I
too
mean, he
too
did manage to get that assist to Bentancur for the
I mean,
equalizer. That
it,
second goal.
too soon to say. Can't really say anything about that yet.
Ah,
You
you,
know what? All right. I Unless a player has like a really really bad debut or a really stellar debut, I don't judge them on the debut. Right? We have to
yeah,
see how they perform over time because first game we don't know how much time he's had to train with the team. I mean, obviously he hasn't gelled with them as yet, right? So unless somebody has a stellar debut or a really bad debut, I don't judge them based on that.
yes, indeed. I mean, I'm not sure if I saw anything different from the Werner of old, to be honest, in this first encounter. But what he does bring to this first team is that he does bring a bit more depth to the team and a bit more opportunity in terms of possibly a threat coming off the bench or even an opportunity to rotate. So I think it's a bit more quality in the squad itself, but do I think he's gonna set the league on fire? I don't believe so, you know.
Uh, the
But
team, the,
it was a fair start to his Spurs career.
the team of Werner that we saw at Chelsea, and I think it's a problem that a number of teams, not every team, but a number of teams are having this issue, and especially Chelsea. Um, where a lot of teams do not play to the strengths of their striker. You have a striker who is quick, but you're not playing in balls in behind for him to run behind the fence. You want him to drop deep and link up play, even though you have a speedy striker who is known for getting in behind. And I think that's what happened for Werner at Chelsea. That's how he played. He got behind. He was a speedy striker, but that's not how he was playing at Chelsea. Um, it's been a very rough striking upfront situation for Chelsea. I mean, the last good striker Chelsea had was probably Diego Costa, and that was probably just for one season, right? Because his second season it was poor, third season was even worse. The last two good strikers for Chelsea was what? Drogba and Costa. Drogba has been retired for for a very long time. But Chelsea does tend to get good strikers and turn them into rubbish. What I don't
I
know what
mean,
happened. If you recall,
it,
Fernando Torres, Andrei
right, right.
Shevchenko.
Well, the thing
You know,
is, in the case
Lukaku.
of Werner, Christoph, what I think happened is that, I mean, other managers in the league are looking on and they are doing their scouting, they are doing their analysis. And I mean, if you as an opposition coach realize, hey, this striker's strength is running in behind, using his space, then what are you going to do? You're going to play a low block. You're not going to
Mhm.
have a high line. You're going to play a low block and say, hey, Chelsea, come and break me down if you can. You're going to play with two banks of four. And I think the big teams, that's what the so-called minnows are doing. They are blocking up in front of the attacking team and saying,
Right.
hey, come and break me down. They don't have the quality to go toe to toe and leave space in behind where the likes of Averna can run onto. So they're playing with
Right.
a low block, they're approaching the game with a low block, soaking up pressure, and then trying to nick something on the counter or possibly from a set play.
Right. But here's the thing: the big teams. This is not some new phenomena for the big teams. They have always had to deal with low blocks. It's not always been the case. If you recall, maybe back before 2010, there used to be a lot more space in behind backlines. So you would have players running in behind. But now for the big teams, if you know you're going to dominate possession and then teams are going to, sit back and say, hey, come and break us down. My question to you is, why are you buying these pacey strikers who serve, who won't give you anything? They're not necessarily dribblers who are going to be one, two, three, four players and score a goal. I mean, if you get the ball to them in a good position, they're likely to score, right? But in this case, in what we've been seeing in recent years, would a traditional target man number 9 not be more effective for these big teams?
Yeah, definitely, for sure, for sure. Are players with a bit more technical skill,
Like
unless you're, as
Sergio Aguero.
right, or you're bringing in depth so that somebody coming off the bench can offer a different dimension per se.
Oh, definitely, I am a proponent of having two different type of strikers. Have somebody who is pacey and can get behind and will score, but I have also, have a plan B striker. Hey, this is my plan A. This is what
Right?
we're going to use. And if this has failed, I'm going to
Switch to
withdraw
your
this
plan B.
striker, switch to my plan B striker, or, put both on and give the defense, something to contend with. But a lot of these teams for years, the bigger teams, have one type of striker.
Or have or go for players with a bit more versatility, like what Liverpool have done, where in your attacking front three, pretty much your front three can play anywhere in that front line. They can play as a nine, they can play as a false nine, you can play left, you can play right, you can run in behind, or you can somewhat play a more target man type forward. So
Mhm.
that seemed to be what Klopp has done, and a number of other managers may want to take a leaf from that book and somewhat apply a similar tactic, similar to Pep as well, Christoph. Pep went out and got Doku. Doku is a player who can run past a defender, and then that defender, now being out of place, draws another player, which then open up space for the likes of a Haaland, a De Bruyne, a Bernardo Silva. So even Pep has gone out and added a different dimension to his team with Adoku. And then, of course, Grealish coming off the bench offers something different. So even though they are two wingers, they are two different types of winger and offer a different dimension. So coming, either one starts, the next one coming off the bench is going to offer something different once he comes in the game. And this has been one of the way that Man City have been unlocking teams. I mean, Man City is now used to playing against low blocks week in, week out, dominating possession, probing, prodding, and finding ways to break teams down. And last year, I believe they added that dimension of shooting from outside with the likes of Rodri, for example, Christoph. And now this year, they've offered a different dimension in terms of Doku, really penetrating defensive from the wings and drawing players out of position. So you have to remain active, Christoph, in terms of not getting stale and not allowing teams to figure you out. But looking ahead though, Christoph, how did you see this weekend and what can we expect from the remainder of the season? What can we expect from the likes of Arsenal? I mean, you've been touting Arsenal to go in the transfer window and make some signings. What are you hearing in the grapevines?
Not hearing anything concrete in the grapevine at the moment for Arsenal. But if they want to be, if they want to win the league, if they want to win the league, they have to do two things. They have to dip into that transfer market and get maybe one or two quality players in the problem areas they're having. That is upfront striker. They need somebody who is more clinical.
So,
They need a quality left back, somebody who is not only decent going forward, but somebody who is defensively solid because teams have been hammering away at that left back position for the last 4 or 5 games, and we've seen where Arsenal have lost the last 4 games in a row in all competitions. So it's not a very good look. But
right, right.
also, I think there another problem here, which a lot of people might say it's not right now. I think in the midfield, that number 8 position where that Xhaka used to occupy. A lot of people are saying, Martinelli is out of form, he's playing poorly. One of the reasons why he's playing poorly is that he has no options out on the left. He has nowhere to play the
Oh,
ball
usually
because
Shaka would be going out there to support him,
you
like a inside
yes,
left.
right. So usually he would have Xhaka there to play the ball in, then he can run in behind, or he plays it to Xhaka. Xhaka lays it off to somebody else. All right. And then it's not helped by the fact that Zinchenko comes inside to midfield. So he's all by himself out there isolated.
Mm.
So I think that midfield area needs some solution. Would it be that you're going to buy somebody and drop there?
So who are a
Or
couple of the names you're hearing currently? I mean, even for that striker role. I mean, if you were the manager, who would you be looking at to bring in to solve this issue,
the striker issue?
right?
The striker I'm thinking of is kind of unrealistic at the moment. But who I think would
Yeah,
fit
who are
what
some of the
Arteta's
names? Who are some of the possible names
uh,
that
the only clinical finisher or brilliant striker I say who would fit what Arteta and Arsenal are doing right now would be Karim Benzema, and that's not going to happen.
mm, but isn't I mean would Benzema be ready made for the EPL, Christophe? He's now playing in the retirement league over there
Uh,
in what, Saudi Arabia?
I don't know if it's a retirement league, because I see a lot of these players struggling over there. So, I mean, Jordan Henderson, prime example. Neymar,
What what
I see a
what what
lot.
about Ivan Toney, Christophe? I mean, that was one of the key players that Arsenal was linked with.
I I
I mean,
don't think
Ivan Toney's suspension is now up, so he is eligible
I
to play.
I don't think a team like Arsenal or I don't think he might do it. He might do it. I don't know, but I don't think you should be buying players with disciplinary issues, putting into your squad to disrupt the kind of squad harmony that you have. You want to bring in professional players. You don't want to bring in somebody doing something as stupid as betting on matches when you know you're going to get
Well,
suspended
I'm
for it.
not sure if I've heard of Ivan Toney really creating any disruption. I mean, the issues he seemed to have gotten himself in are really off the field issues per se,
Right,
but
but you don't want art. You spend 100 million on Ivan Tony. Oh, he's gambling again. He's out for another 1 year. Like, and I still have to pay him, 250,000 pounds a week. That don't make sense. All right.
so Benzema would be your call, Christoph. So
I think Benzema is a clinical finisher. He drops deep. He gets into the box. Doesn't need another
but
chance. I
wouldn't he
think he
be
would
a
be
short-term solution though? When Arsenal seem to be looking towards the youth?
right, but you're trying to win the league right now.
Mm,
So even if you have to get a short-term solution that is excellent, I think it's a gamble. Like I said, I don't think Benzema is a realistic option, but that is the type of striker I think Arteta would want.
well, okay. But that being said though, Christoph, I mean, looking at the going back to the Spurs and Man United game, I mean, this point in time, how do you see those teams panning out for the rest of the season?
Um, Man U and Tottenham, how I see them
Right,
going for
right.
the rest of the
Where do
season.
you see Man U finishing
Oh,
their season?
United at current, based on their form, based on how they've been playing all season, they will finish outside of the top four. Um, Tottenham potentially finishing inside the top four, depending on both Arsenal and Aston Villa for the rest of the season.
So those three teams
I
you're saying will be battling it out
For
for
top four spots.
top four
Definitely,
spot.
I definitely see Man City, Liverpool. Those spots are definite in the top four. Man City, Liverpool, definitely in the top four. At the moment, I think Man City is going to win the league currently. Not in first, but I think currently they are my favorites to win the league. I would love Arsenal to win the league, but unless they solve their issues, also they need to, they need to set up maybe a proper rotation system so the players don't get burned out. At the moment, Arteta doesn't seem to have a lot of faith in his bench, but right now, top four is definite answers are Liverpool, Man City, and then it will be Aston Villa, Tottenham, and Arsenal fighting for the two remaining spots.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, with the new format as well, I believe the team finishing in fifth may also get a spot in the new formatted Champions League as well. So definitely a lot to play for there. I believe it might boil down to some European coefficient or something of that sort. It may boil down to some maths when it comes to another team or another English team in the Champions League. But definitely all to play for among those aforementioned teams. And Aston Villa again remain the surprise package of the season thus far. Let's hope they can just galvanize and not fade from the top boys there. But much football left to be played, Christophe, and teams now go on a little break, or some teams go on a little break. This was a split weekend. We have some other matches coming up on the weekend, while some other teams are rested as well. So, full fixtures will return in another week or two. But for right now, we are still getting some EPL action from a few teams who remain active. We then have some FA Cup games coming up, and then we get back into the full flow towards the latter part of January. But Christoph, any quick final thoughts?
I don't know if I have if I have thoughts. I think the other teams in the title race, Liverpool, Arsenal, Aston Villa, if they want to be in there, Man City are almost back to full strength and they're switching gears. Now would be the time to sort out your weaknesses going forward for the remainder of the season because if you don't fix them now, they're going to come and bite at the tail end, the business end of the season.
Well, there you have it, viewers and subscribers. Christoph with his thoughts and his opinions. Again, I must thank you again, viewers and subscribers, for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.